web series and OTT have revolutionized the way we consume entertainment. There are currently 3.5 billion subscribers for OTT platforms worldwide, and by 2027, there will be over 4 billion subscribers. Now, the impact of OTT has been transformative. It has disrupted traditional media consumption and creation. For the audiences, it offers unparalleled control over what, when, and where they watch content. For the content industry, of course, it offers immense opportunities to showcase original content. But of late, there have been concerns of obscenity on OTT platforms. Does India need new regulation for OTT content? Joining me to discuss this are Udai Mahurkar, former Chief Information Commissioner, Saurabh Varma, Director and Writer, Girish Wankhede, and my colleague Geeta Datta here in the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus Show on the world's first OTT platform. I want to start by asking Udai Bahar. Uday, you've been leading a crusade against obscenity on OTT channels. Now, explain for us why what the government just did of banning the OTT apps that they just did yesterday. How significant is that, and what more needs to be done?
Sandeep, I have been running a campaign for the last more than 1 year against perverted content in the name of my NGO, Save Culture, Save Bharat Foundation.
Right.
Now, what is the objective? Let us see this the scenario as you can see it today. You know, what kind of films are being served in the name of entertainment? Perversion between father-in-law, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, teacher, student.
Right.
And one film has crossed all limits where the producer has shown with explicit scenes relations between a man and his grandmother, stepmother, a cousin sister and his sister-in-law.
Right. Yes.
Now this is like waging a war against the culture of this country, against the character of this country.
Right.
That is how I see it. Because of this unchecked content, sexually perverted content on OTT platforms,
Right.
there are 700 apps which have exploded.
Yes.
Which are daily showing, according to a study, about 30 films.
Right.
They are releasing in the market about 30 films. They hire prostitutes. In North India, their center is Meerut.
Right.
They go to Meerut. There are small studios in small flats where the shooting is done and the film is released.
Right.
Now, this is very horrendous situation because, you see, we have set a target for ourselves of becoming a great nation by 2047.
Right.
Everybody knows about it. I have no doubt, rather nobody has any doubt, that we'll be a great nation, economic superpower, a military superpower, a scientific superpower,
Yes.
by 2037, 10 years before the target. But the question before the nation is, will we become a culturally pauper nation?
Right. Right.
That is a question you have to address.
Absolutely. And Uday, that's a valid point that you've raised. Yes.
Let me come to my last point.
Yes.
How it is impacting the society. I
Right.
will cite 3 incidents which will show how the situation is dangerous and a threat to the nation's future.
Right.
About 15 days ago, a brother raped his sister,
Yeah.
killed her, and he was caught. Thereafter, 2 boys, one 10-year-old, another 8-year-old, raped a 5-year-old girl. Last year, one principal raped his 6 girl students in Rajasthan. All 3 had the same reply when they were arrested in their statement that this content was coming, provocative content was coming on their phone and they could not stop themselves.
Right.
Now, this is a very horrendous situation. The nation needs to attend. Therefore, the step taken by the Narendra Modi government yesterday is very, very significant, though
Yes.
a first step. But very, very significant. Those who have been banned are very big players.
Right.
I am not saying that there are no more big players. There are many more big players, you know. But
Right,
then
right.
this beginning is very, very encouraging.
Yes.
A fear has to be put in the minds of such people who are
Right.
trying to earn money by dishing out utterly sexually perverted content.
Right, right, absolutely. Geeta, that's a very valid point there. I mean, the censorship that the government has brought, ban that the government has brought in, you know, basically knocked out about 18 apps with very names that we haven't heard of before, and these are clearly appealing to the baser instincts of viewers. But do you foresee a return to some kind of censorship that we used to talk about in the past?
Sandeep, when something like this is happening, there is this thing of films have a censor certificate, and that's how they're released, and they have the certification.
Right.
On OTT, you have a fairly freer way to present your content.
Yes.
So you have a lot of swear words. You have, Bastar has released. We saw Animal, and the kind of the violence is just crazy. A lot of people. So which way? And then on Netflix or Amazon Prime or other OTTs, they said they have the freedom to show a slightly more explicit scenes and stuff like that. Yes, there will be some players who will take it to the other side. The government has been constantly engaging with the various OTT players, saying, have self-regulation. They have been talking to them. Anurag has, INB minister has been very clear about it. He has been engaging with them. But I guess there are always going to be certain players who will stretch, and there is this whole industry that exists, right?
Right, absolutely.
So
the industry that Uday mentioned. In fact, I want to ask Saurabh this. Saurabh, the fears that Mr. Mahurkar raised, the fact that there is this parallel sleaze industry that's riding on the OTT boom, and there are apps, it's coming through smartphones now. The larger question, of course, is that whether the broadcasting bill, which is still in the draft stage, is actually going to cover OTT as well. There's a furious debate on right now. Do you see this need for the government to police OTT apps, this huge OTT explosion that we've seen in the last couple of years? Will that actually happen? Or are we going to throw the baby out with the bathwater?
So my point of view is, first and foremost, I think the 18 apps which have been banned, I think it's a welcome move. And if I compare this move to any other industry, like a restaurant industry or transportation, there always are bad apples.
Right.
Like I went through the names of these apps, and to be very frank, I couldn't recognize any of these people. And I think that's also happening because there was a time when shooting used to be a rocket science. Today, anybody with a phone can become a director. Anybody can open a OTT app. There's no entry barrier as such.
Yes.
So I think somewhere down the line, a regulation is important. For those, and if I compare it to any other business, if there are some great builders or great people who are building some great buildings, there'll be some people who are scamming people by building substandard buildings, by having bad cement or bad construction.
Sure.
There are people who will find these shortcuts because everybody is in this this rut to get followers, and I think somewhere content gets faster followers, whether it's just the OTT content which the gentleman was speaking about, or whether it's even on Instagram or Facebook, you will see certain pages which attract followers on the basis of your explicitness. Now this needs to be controlled in a certain way. My only view is that it cannot be just arbitrarily, and the formation of this regulation has to be in sync with people from the industry as well.
Right.
Like the reputed brands of OTT players. And I know for a fact that they've been regularly conversing with the ministry, and Mr. Anurag has been very, very open for conversations. And there are a lot of productive conversations which have happened, and a lot of things have been, a lot of things do not come to the media or public light, but a lot of aversions have been done to control or content which can, maybe have a negative effect to the society.
Right.
I compare the same to an Animal or any other thing because those are censor certified films.
Yes.
But having said that, these are like preposterous, the 18 sites. So something needs to be done. But my point of view is that it has to be in sync with people. If I want to regulate restaurants, there has to be support from people from the food industry as well. Similarly, if I am looking at some kind of a regulation in the this place, so there are people, there are associations, there are unions, there are things like that, because one film involves around 500 people in it, whether it's the shooting crew, whether it's marketing, whether it's distribution. And nobody make some people want to make films, and most of the people want to make legacy films or stand through the test of time. And this is shortcut few, only a selected few who do not respect the industry, who do not understand the industry and they are looking for the easy way to get followers.
Right, absolutely. Girish, you see this as a case of just a few bad apples, giving the whole industry a bad name. How do you regulate OTT content?
Yeah, I will see that banning these 18 OTT platforms has been a welcome change. It has to be there because they were definitely beyond perversion. They were there, which were actually spoiling the whole space. And then, as far as the other OTTs, which are prestigious, which are international OTTs, national OTTs, which has got a reputation, these OTTs are more responsible.
Right.
They are open. They are open to discuss. They have got the people who are from the industry.
Right.
And they, even if they are making Tandav or Mirzapur or Sacred Games, they even Game of Thrones. So these are all top-notch OTT players who are responsible. And even if we need to regulate them, there should be a self-responsibility of these old OTT platforms, as well as what Saurabh has said, that there should be people from industry also who will, the way there is a censor board, there should be some regulation, but there should be no curb on any creativity. As such, the way Animal was shown in cinemas, the same film has come to OTT. So obviously there is something called a censor board which has to be respected. But yes, if there are people who are purely engaged in obscenity or perversion or bad or explicit content, they should be definitely banned, and this is a wonderful thing to do.
Right. Uday, I'm going to ask you, the instances that you mentioned, specific instances of obscenity that you mentioned are, content that's put out by mainstream OTT brands. Now, how do you regulate that? Are you suggesting that there needs to be a central board of film certification for OTT platforms, or bring such platforms under the ambit of the Government of India bodies?
I have a slightly tough view as compared to the other two gentlemen. I feel that no half-hearted move will work here, because the tiger has tasted human blood, which is they know that they can serve such perverted content and earn easy money. Therefore, the steps have to be very strong. People might differ with me, but I have a 3-tier solution.
Right.
For temporary solutions are 2.
Right.
One, IT Act should be amended, and all such stuff can be put in one group.
Right.
And the accessibility of that group should be linked to Aadhaar card and fingerprint.
Okay. Right.
Most of this stuff is being watched secretly.
Right.
And I spoke to an IT expert friend of mine. He told me that we can also have a system where somebody accesses a particular such content. He will get a what you call a SMS that you just access our content.
Right.
That is one. Second is there should be joint regulatory authority.
Right.
For preventing perverted content. Only job will be to prevent perverted content on all audiovisual platforms.
Right.
And third, which is the most radical solution, which I've been suggesting, and not many people agree with me, but I'm very clear about it in my mind.
Right.
Because I have seen the whole industry in the last 14 months since I've been working on this whole thing. I feel that you see, as I told you, India set a great target for itself. India is talking about becoming a Vishwaguru. So that you see, and there are countries like countries in the Middle East, South Korea, Singapore, who have been able to control it.
Right. Absolutely.
What I am saying is,
Uday,
it's a very radical thing. I think you will not agree with me, but I stick to my stand.
I'm just going to ask, Saurabh this. Saurabh, do you think that's feasible, practical, the thing of, censoring online content? Can that be done?
No, see, we can't generalize things. You can't say these kind of people.
Right.
See, we are not community. OTT are people, humans like us, people who are running these platforms. They are job opportunities and they get selected. Indians are the ones who are part of the system. So you can't generalize ki first and foremost. Second, yes, there has to be a regulation. But, you cannot have these firm policies without the participation of the industry. The industry already knows the pros and cons of censorship and things like that. And we are responsible people. You can't say ki sabko ban kar do Aadhaar card, because today data leakage is another problem which we are. Today I get so many calls that I fear giving my number to somebody. So, it's another issue which we need to do. So it's not just one particular thing which we need to address. There are several things to that. Having said that, I mean, I am sure Girish will agree to what I'm saying, that the 12 or the 18 sites which have been banned, or whatever numbers we'd never even heard of them. So, I mean, I sitting in Mumbai, in the heart of the industry, if I've not heard of them, who are the people sitting in Meerut recording it, as the gentleman said? So, we really don't. So, like I said, there's no entry barrier. Tomorrow, somebody can go and work to and just
shoot the Yes, Saurabh. Closing comments, Geeta, you want to say something?
I just wanted to say something that, you know, what Uday was talking about. You know, that's what parenting is about, right? You monitor what your children are watching or not watching. That's one. And secondly, he was talking about the impact on the society. Now, you're making films that are taking stories from the society and these films are impacting. That's a discussion that we've been having forever. But I think I don't think the government should be allowed to get into the sphere where the parents need to take care. That's my take on this.
You don't want a nanny state
you don't want a nanny
policing
state.
The thing. But that's a debate that we'll continue to have. Over the top, obscene content. The government has taken some very firm steps on banning some of these violators, the 18 apps that have been banned, and of course Uday Mahurkar suggesting far more radical steps, and this debate will continue as the government tries to bring OTT platforms under the Broadcasting Services Regulation Bill, which is going to be discussed in a few months from now. But I'd like to thank Saurabh, my colleague Geeta, Uday Mahurkar and Girish Wankhede for joining us in this discussion. Committee of experts led by the former President Ramnath Kovind submitted a report to the government recommending one nation, one elections or simultaneous elections to the assemblies and to the Lok Sabha. My colleague Nivriti Mohan spoke with Justice M.N. Bhandari, former Chief Justice of the Madras High Court. He was one of the consultants for this high-level committee. Let's listen into this interview and what he said on his recommendations to this committee.
In the present framework of the Constitution, especially about the Parliament and Assembly election, there is no provision for simultaneous elections. Furthermore, it is required to be addressed forever. Like I said, Panchayat and municipal election, whenever there is a dissolution, the next election would be for the remainder period. There is a dissolution of assembly for whatever reason. I mean, there can be a variety of reasons. The thing is, whenever there is a dissolution presently, the election again would be for a period of 5 years. That assembly, whatever is elected after the dissolution, would have the tenure of 5 years. Now, this is resulting in different dates of election, which is the present scenario. Now, this is required to be addressed. Therefore, all these issues which results in dissolution of the assembly or the parliament generally is, we have not seen, but everything is to be taken care of that in case of dissolution, the election would be for the remainder period. That is one election for the parliament and all the assemblies. It is after 67 and all that certain assembly got dissolved for whatever reason. An election of that particular state assembly was for a period of 5 years, and therefore there was a difference of dates of the election. So that is required to be addressed, and that is what the suggestion is. When there would be one election, first is it would be cutting the cost of the election. See, spending on election, any amount spent on the election is coming from the pocket of the government. It is affecting the exchequer. If we curtail, I mean, whatever money saved, that can be used for the development of the country or the state. That is one. Secondly, I said, I mean, the working is also affected. I mean, one time the state government is having code of conduct because of parliament, then for the assembly, then comes Panchayat, and lastly, even for the municipal corporation.
Just 4 decades ago, the Indian automotive industry was limited to just a couple of manufacturers. By 2023, India grew into the world's 3rd largest automobile market. And the sale of just one product dominates this market: sports utility vehicles or SUVs. Let's watch this excerpt from an upcoming News9 Plus documentary on Enter the SUV, why SUVs became India's favorite vehicle of choice. Do watch.
Indians as a nation are deeply aspirational.
The Premier 118NE.
We are picky. We want value for money, naturally. But bigger is better.
This is the all-new Tata Safari Storm.
Nowhere is this more visible than in India's automobile sector. For a nation with only a couple of car manufacturers just 4 decades back, by 2023, India grew into the world's third largest automobile market, and the sale of just one product dominates this nation: sports utility vehicles, or SUVs.
People aspire for SUVs. Looking back, once you've driven an SUV, it's very difficult to go back to a smaller one.
So they're very practical, they're spacious, they give you a sense of power. New SUVs, really, they are the flavor of the month, flavor of many years actually.
This is the trend, this is a continuous trend, and it is going to continue for India at least, because we have the potential to grow.
So, how did a nation obsessed with fuel economy come to love heavy gas guzzling sports utility vehicles? How and why did the Indian consumer move from the small frugal family movers to high-end over-the-top land yachts? Let's look at how India fell in love with the SUV.